Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Tea with Taylor. In this episode, I want to talk about the economy and my predictions. I made a video last year talking about my predictions. I was in real estate and I was just seeing the absolute insanity going on in the real estate market with properties going multiple offers far over the list price, guaranteeing appraisal, selling for 15, 30, 50, $100,000 over what they sold just a year, 2 years, 3 years ago. Just the asset inflation was absolutely insane and prevalent at that time. And I was talking about the Federal Reserve printing a bunch of money and that inflation was going to come. And definitely one of those in the end the Fed camps. And I'm not going to go too much into that in this video, but it's definitely a core reason on why we see the significant booms and busts in the economy. When you have an entity have a monopoly over the monetary system and they have a monopoly over interest rates, they tend to have a lot of power. And then mix that with the government totally infiltrating the economy with the restrictions they were implementing because of COVID, the policies they were passing, trillions and trillions of dollars. And when you have all those things, and then you're also printing a bunch of money and pumping it into the economy, creating a band-aid or a facade of what was actually going underneath the surface and dropping interest rates to a all-time low, incentivizing individuals to take out a lot of debt and to incentivize companies to take out a lot of debt. You're over leveraging the economy on debt. So now that we're starting to see a correction in the market, you're starting to see interest rates rise. You're starting to see consumer spending contract and government or banks contracting their loans. You're now going to see the actual effects of these policies that have been implemented. And it's going to real estate is going to be one of the first things that are going to get hit, like always. I mean, I had clients who purchased a property back in 2019 and they were purchasing it from sellers who bought it back in 06. They purchased it back in 06 for about $600,000 and my buyers bought it for $320,000, meaning that seller lost nearly 50% of their asset. That is exactly what we're going to be seeing again now, but combine that with all of the restrictions that COVID did to the economy, a lot of the companies that weren't able to last throughout that, in addition to 40% of all the dollar ever printed has been printed in now what is like 20 months. To say now we're seeing inflation, they say 7%. It's obviously much higher when you look at asset inflation. You look at the price of housing and cars. I mean, I still have my dealership. I bought my car back in 2019. I still get emails from them very often offering to buy my car back for not much less than I just bought it for. And as you guys know, cars depreciate very quickly. So that just gives you an idea of how insane the market is. And a lot of the times, especially when it comes to real estate, they love to say, yeah, well, you have really low interest rates. You can buy the property if you compare what you'd be paying for if your interest rate was higher. Now that it's lower, you can buy a higher cost or a higher valued property. But does the low interest rate really matter if you lose your house? No, because those people that they tend to give the government, the FHA loans and the government offerings in order to purchase these property to give them the American dream, they're usually the first ones to lose their assets. And that's what happens when you allow FHA loans that spread the debt to income ratio so thin to give people the ability to purchase properties or to purchase a house. And then when the economy does correct, because it will correct, then they're the first ones to lose their house. And who ultimately gets that asset? The banks, the government, BlackRock. So at the end, the incentive that the government or the banks provided these buyers ultimately will unfortunately lead to a lot of them losing the wealth that they think that they acquired or that they could have afford, when in reality, they really couldn't afford that asset. So that's what happens when, you have a federal reserve that has a monopoly over the monetary system, when you have federal government giving backing loans, backing housing loans, and then you have them printing money. And so with that, the real estate market's going to be the first to get hit. We're going to see a lot of industries get hit, a lot of companies who over leverage themselves on debt when consumer spending was up. Now that consumer spending is going to be trending down and the corrections in the market are going to be happening, a lot of these companies aren't going to be able to sustain themselves because they still have to pay their debt. The banks are still going to come back for their money. And unfortunately, the government loves to bail out banks, but they don't like to bail out the individual, or they don't like to bail out the small businesses. And so I'll let you think about that as to why that is. I have, maybe some conspiracy theories, but it's definitely prevalent as you're seeing the corrections and following the trends in the market. And I obviously highly recommend to always pay attention to what's going on, to follow the trends, because even though a correction in the market is coming, this is nothing new. Now there's new aspects of it when you consider the policies and the implemented by the government under the guise of COVID. But when you think of the corrections, this happens, and Patrick was talking about it in our mastermind this today, actually, with some of the valuetainment community, that this happens about every 10 years in America. And he was making a prediction that 2023 is really when it's going to start to roll in. And this was also in agreement with an individual that he had on the show, talking about how we're going to start seeing the effects of these things really start to roll in 2023 with foreclosures and short sales. And but with that, there's a lot of people like Patrick who made the point that he anticipates adding another zero to his net worth during this next recession, because a lot of people who pay attention to trends, who prepare, they're going to make a lot of money, because in bad times, there's opportunities. It's just, you have to be able to foresee them. You have to pay attention. You have to follow trends. You have to understand economics. I mean, I know a lot of people getting liquid right now, because once these foreclosures and these short sales start to roll in, investments are on sale. So for those who are prepared, they're going to make a lot of money. And I can say, definitely for people that I know in real estate, the guy at my last brokerage that I worked for, he said it was kind of like the tipping point of his career that then just grew exponentially since then, because he was working with investors during the last downturn. He got to witness it for himself with these investors. So now this time he's preparing, getting liquid, selling some of his maybe not as high performing assets, and then keeping that cash. So then when these new investment opportunities present themselves during the economic downturn, he can take advantage of it. And a lot of you can do the same. You just have to pay attention and prepare yourself, because you're going to make a lot of money during this time. And I can say, I don't have, I'm not going to be able to take advantage of it as much as I would like to, but I'm definitely going to be taking advantage of it. It's something that I have foreseen. I'm renting right now because I moved across the country to Florida to work for Valuetainment. It was a very, the market was crazy. It was a quick process, but I totally anticipate on buying some properties now when the foreclosures start rolling in, the short sales. I say within definitely 2023, 2024, 2025, those 3 years, it's going to be a hard time. People should prepare for it either way, but definitely if you're looking to buy investments, if you're looking to capitalize on the opportunities that is coming, get liquid, prepare yourself, because assets will be on sale. And that's why they say the rich get richer. The rich know how to manage their money, and they see and they follow trends. So when downturns happen, that's when they create a lot of their wealth, and then they sustain it. So with that, I would like to say to pay attention to what's going on, get your finances in order, no matter what you're doing, because a correction in the market, you're already starting to see it, obviously, with the prices of all consumer goods going up, the cost of business and everything else. But if you're looking and hoping to take advantage of the opportunity that is coming, you will come out of the recession marvelous, but you have to pay attention. And so that is my predictions to come. It'll be an interesting time. It'll definitely be an interesting time. It'll be an interesting time beyond just the reoccurring economic shift that's going to be happening, but there's a lot of political things happening, and people are going to understand that the government's never been so involved in the economy ever since maybe World War II, and it's not having the positive impact that people or politicians were claiming that it would. And that goes with saying that we are no longer have the ability to weigh out costs and benefits, opportunity costs, and things are not free. We've been conditioned to believe that we can just print money and that things will be free and it'll solve all our problems. But as Thomas Sowell says, there are no solutions. There are only opportunity costs, and we are seeing the effects and the results of those policies and those decisions that have been implemented. So again, pay attention, prepare yourself. The time is coming, but with bad times comes a lot of great opportunities. So as Patrick Bet-David likes to say, the future looks bright. So thank you for joining me. I always appreciate it. I hope you found it valuable. Stay tuned, and I look forward to seeing you again on Tea with Tayler. God bless and take care.